Hey, what's up? It's Privacy J here. It's time to continue my new MacBook Pro update. So, here's the plan. So, 2 days ago, the last update, what we're talking about is the M4 versus the M4 Pro and M4 Max chip. So, now move along to this another M4 MacBook Pro. So here's why M4 MacBook Pro is one of the best upgrades you can make right now. Last October, Apple announced the M4 MacBook Pro. On the surface, it looks yet another MacBook Pro spec bump. However, there are a number of that key features that make it worth upgrading to, even if you already have an older 14-inch MacBook Pro. Why M4? There's recently been a pretty big flip in a MacBook Pro pricing, which gradually took place over the past year or so. First, Apple introduced a new entry-level MacBook Pro at $1,599 in 2023 with baseline M3. Then it upped the base memory to 16 gigabytes and removed some of their biggest compromises with M4. These two events now mean that you can now buy a MacBook Pro with 512 gigabytes of storage and 16 gigabytes of memory for $1,599 directly from Apple, which previously started at $1,999. Sure, you won't be buying a Pro chip at that price. In my opinion, though, all of the upsides outweigh that one loss. Far better battery life. Without having a Pro chip, you're able to take a huge leap in the battery life. Baseline Apple Silicon is a lot more power efficient. According to Apple's website, the M1 Pro 14-inch MacBook Pro can handle up to 11 hours of web browsing on a single charge. With an M4 14-inch MacBook Pro, you can get up to 16 hours. That's a nearly 50% improvement just in that one metric. Personally, I noticed around double the battery life between the two, mainly because the power drain from the background apps is reduced substantially. The M1 Pro only has 2 efficiency cores versus the 6 of M4. Idle tasks aren't going to consume as much power with M4. It still blows my mind how large of a year-over-year leap there was in battery life. I'm rarely recharging my MacBook Pro in the middle of the day now. Screen improvements. While all 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pro models have mini LED displays, there's a massive improvement with more recent models' standard brightness. With M1 Pro and M2 Pro 14-inch MacBook Pro, Apple only offered up to 500 nits of standard non-HDR brightness. M3 features up to 600. Now with M4 MacBook Pro, you can utilize up to 1000 nits of standard brightness. That makes a huge difference for outdoor visibility. With third-party apps like Vivid, $10 one-time purchase if you're interested. It was possible to unlock additional brightness on your older 14 or 16-inch MacBook Pro. After all, they're all include mini LED panels, which have the capability of going up to 1600 nits while consuming HDR content. These apps essentially allow you to tap into this HDR brightness even while looking at standard content. While third-party apps are a great solution, it's just incredibly nice to have a high level of standard brightness. It goes a long way towards making my M4 MacBook Pro feel more like my M4 iPad Pro, which also offers 1000 nits of standard brightness. Improved webcam. Apple touted new 1080p webcams with the 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pro in 2021, while there were a decent upgrade over the previous 720p webcams. They were never particularly remarkable. With the M4 generation, Apple added the 12 megapixel center stage camera to the MacBook Pro for the first time. This was a feature that initially debuted on the iPad and later was introduced on the Studio Display and iMac. Center Stage utilized an ultra-wide camera with its much wider field of view. You can fit much more into perspective. However, you can also enable face tracking, allowing your perspective to appear normal whilst also tracking where you're in a room. It's pretty nifty and makes the MacBooks a far more valuable device for the FaceTime, something I previously reserved for my iPad. It also enables Desk View, which does exactly what it says on the tin, not to mention the fact that these cameras are also higher resolution. Performance. You might think that going from an M1 Pro chip to an M4 chip would yield a performance downgrade. If your workflow is extremely reliant on GPU performance, this might not be the upgrade for you. If you don't fall into that bucket though, M1 Pro to M4 is net win, mainly because there's 3 years of performance leaps that really close the gap between a Pro chip and the baseline chip. In Geekbench 6, M1 Pro scores around 2386 in single core performance and around 12,344 12,344 in multi-core performance. M4 that scores around 3750 in single core performance and 14,704 in multi-core performance. That's a 57% leap in single core and a 19% leap in multi-core performance. Dispute being a lower end chip. M4, while being 19% faster in a multi-core, also takes a huge leap in a newer engine performance, all at a fraction of the power draw. With Apple investing more and more in AI, having a newer chipset might pay off. Anecdotally, M4 will also kick up the fans less regularly and won't feel as warm on your lap. To wrap up, it may seem boring to upgrade between two MacBooks in the same design generation. However, despite looking the same, these two computers feel remarkably different. With fluctuating tariff policy and Apple price hikes being on the table, it might not be the best idea to wait around for the future MacBook releases. There are some great deals right now, and there's a strong possibility of them changing for the worse. Besides, the M5 MacBook Pro won't be too big of an upgrade anyways. Best 14-inch MacBook Pro deals. The M4 512 gigabytes, 16 gigabytes, M4 1 terabyte, 16 gigabytes, and 1 terabyte, 24 gigabytes, M4 Pro 512 gigabytes, 24 gigabytes, M4 Max 1 terabyte, and 36 gigabytes. Right, their prices on Amazon. I wish Apple would refer to the M4 MacBook Pros simply as M4 MacBooks. There could be a MacBook, MacBook Air, and MacBook Pro lines. Seems like there's always a need to distinguish between an M4 MacBook Pro and M4 Pro MacBook Pro. The MacBook would offer more upgraded features than the MacBook Air for those who aren't as worried about thin and light and those who with no need for a pro level check. Best 16-inch MacBook Pro deals. The M4 Pro, the 512 gigabytes, 24 gigabytes, 48 gigabytes, M4 Max, 1 terabyte, and 36 gigabytes, and 48 gigabytes. Wow, expensive. Some models currently have limited availability. All right. The next topic, the last one. The Apple's M5 chip could continue an unexpected new trend report. Apple Silicon debuted in 2020 with the first M class chip. The M1 class launched in MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, and Mac Mini. But last year, Apple made a big product shift when it launched the M4, and per a new report, that trend looks set to continue with the upcoming M5 chip. The M5 MacBook Pro may be delayed until early 2026. Yesterday, Mark Gurman published an overview of new products in the works for early 2026. One of the big surprises from the report involved the M5 MacBook Pro. Until the M5 MacBook Pro has been expected to launch this fall, that timing was previously shared by Gurman and lined up with Apple's pattern with M4 models last fall and M3 the year before. But now it sounds like Apple's changing its plans. The company had been planning to release the new M14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros, codenamed J714 and J716, later this year with M5 chips, but Apple is now internally targeting a launch early next year, meaning that the current MacBook Pro release cycle may last a little longer than usual. The timing remains fluid, and Apple previously launched the M1, M3, and M4 MacBook Pros in either October or November. Elsewhere, it reiterates though those computers were originally slated for a 2025 release, Apple is considering pushing them back to 2026 next year. It's unclear why Apple would need to push back the launch of the M5 MacBook Pros, and there are no additional details in the report. But something Gurman does confirm is that one M5 product is still set for launch this fall. That product, the M5 iPad Pro could get Apple's new M class chip before the Mac again. Last year, Apple did something with the M4 chip that it never had before. It launched the chip exclusively in the iPad Pro before 2024 last year. If you wondered that the M in the Apple's M series chip stood for, the easy answer was Mac. Even though Apple sold certain iPad models with M-class chips, it was always long after those chips had debuted on the Mac. But the M4 arrived in Apple's new iPad Pro last May and didn't hit the Mac until a full 6 months later. Now it sounds like a similar scenario could play out with the M5. If Gurman's reporting proves right, the brand new M5 chip will launch in the iPad Pro this fall, and that iPad would be only M5 product until sometime in early 2026. Launching a new M series chip in the iPad once can be called a fluke, but doing the same thing with a second new chip in a row, that seems more like a trend. Perhaps Apple needs a little more time to get the M5 Pro and M5 Max chips ready, thus the MacBook Pro delay. But since the iPad Pro will only have the base M5 chip, it can ship sooner. In any case, the unexpected move of debuting M series chips in the iPad might be something we should all get used to. What do you think of the M5 launching first in the iPad Pro? Let us know in the comments. So that's going to be it for today's stream about the new MacBook Pro update for today. So in the next topic, what we'll talk about in 2 days. So I'm gonna go ahead and do what we're talking about next is the M5, another M5. So yeah. So like and comment and subscribe, but let me know about it. So we're gonna subscribe to my 3 channels: Privacy J Productions 1, 2, and 3, and my content. All of my social medias will let you know all about it. Facebook, my name is Jaden Garcia. Instagram is JTech727. Snapchat is Goots0727. And follow me on X, Privacy J NYC1. So thanks for watching and peace out.